Hello everyone. I don't know if you can see me or not. Hmm. It's weird. Hello everyone. We're gonna go through the video made by Sasha Takes on UK channel about the state of the economy. Let's go. I suppose. Let me just double check the sound. It's all good. Yeah, cool. Okay, let's go.
Sasha, the UK economy is continuing to collapse this morning. Yields on 30-year government bonds went over 5.5% this morning. The cost of government borrowing is currently going up in a vertical line. And over the weekend, Rachel Reeves, the UK Chancellor, decided to fly to China to try and do a trade deal. She could have chosen to stay in the UK and calm the markets, like do anything. She could have come out with some statements. She could have worked night and day on urgent policy adjustments, making some kind of changes. Maybe find some actual fat in the system that can be trimmed. Maybe identify a change to the taxation system that would get investment flowing. I don't know, anything but no. She flew to China, and it sounds like even China themselves weren't sure why she turned up. She proudly announced.
Yeah, it's more about the narrative than about the actual doing something.
Afterwards that she did some sort of an investment deal with China worth £600 million over 5 years. That's £600 million, not £600 billion, and it's spread over 5 years, which means it's £120 million a year. It's nothing. This investment is equivalent to roughly 0.004% of UK GDP.
Yeah, that's
While
nothing.
she was gone, the
zero.
yields on UK
doesn't
debt
mean
went
nothing.
up about 0.2%, which is equivalent to 5.2 billion or 5,200 million pounds in extra interest a year if you account for the total amount of UK debt when it eventually refinances. £120 million a year is such a small number that it's almost like China wanted to intentionally humiliate Rachel Reeves and the UK government, because it would have been better, it would have sounded better
right.
to not have any number at all, or just zero. It's a bit like asking your child to do 10 hours of chores over the weekend and then rewarding them after they've done all of them with 1p so that they can save up to buy an ice cream at some point in the future. The fact that Rachel Reeves proudly announced this deal and the number, made a big deal out of this £120 million a year, shows that she doesn't even realize that they just took the piss out of her. She doesn't even understand. After thinking about it over the weekend, this morning, Keir Starmer also came out and gave a speech.
Oh no, they know. It's just for the simple people, 600 million sounds a lot. That's the point. But for the budget itself, that's nothing. It's like, what is that? Yeah, for simple people, 600 million sounds a lot. It's like, oh yeah, this is a big thing. But if you look at the big scale, like Sasha does in this video, then this 600 million is just drop in the ocean.
Speech on how the economy is going to be solved. And here is a brief summary of what Keir Starmer said. AI, growth, AI, NHS, AI, economy, AI. A major part of the plan by the UK government is to build out a huge data center where a cluster of 100,000 graphics cards will be built by 2030. And this data center will be government owned. By 2030, by the way, in government speak probably means 2050s, but I don't know.
Yeah,
this is the most absurd waste of money I have heard of in a very long time, because this will cost billions. The fact that neither Keir Starmer nor any of his advisors or anybody in the government understand this simple point is extremely painful. So first off, they will be building a huge AI data center in the UK, the home of the highest industrial energy costs in the world. And you know what?
Remember that energy cost in the world. Just remember about the energy. We're gonna go into another video about the energy in UK. You'll see that this plan, this AI plan, big data center, is just unrealistic. Simply put, it will require tens of billions of investment to get this thing up and running, and then still it's not going to be attractive to the investors and the people to use it, because the taxation that being introduced in UK is just going to decimate any profit. So there is no point. There is no point doing business with UK at this point.
By far the biggest cost of running a large data center, especially with these huge power intensive graphics cards, is its energy. And I am sure that's going to go down really, really well. Second, literally not a single big tech company, not one, will use this government-owned cluster to build, train and operate their proprietary AI models. Nobody will do it. It's absurd. They are already doing it themselves, and they are already having access to cloud companies. If you're a small, medium-sized company, there are cloud companies out there, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, loads of other ones, tripping over each other to build out cloud companies.
These are big companies as well. Amazon itself, it's a massive in the data. I mean, it is insane. Competing with Amazon and Google, it's just, I don't know. This plan is destined to fail.
Functionality for small businesses to build their AI models. They will provide a better service much faster at a fraction of the cost, with much better tech than the UK government will ever be able to do.
Yes.
Third, the plan for this UK government is to build the AI data center by 2030. So in the next 6 years, if you've ever seen the government build anything, you know that 6 years will probably become 26 years. And just so you know, xAI, one of Elon Musk's companies, just built their data center, the same exact size, also a cluster of 100,000 graphics cards. They've already built it. It already exists right now, and they did it in 19 days.
19 days and 6 years, just think about it. 19 days and 6 years. That is insane. So basically, it's putting a hopium pill out there and saying that in 6 years, oh yeah, we're gonna have something, but in 6 years nobody's gonna remember this shit. Absolutely no one's gonna remember this, because everybody's gonna be drowning in their own problems so much that they're not gonna even think about whatever happened 6 years ago or what they promised 6 years ago. Because this is it. This is just a hopium pill. There you go. There is a AI. Yeah, AI everywhere. AI.
Who is going to sit around and wait for the UK government to spend 6 years building this stuff? Who? Also, by the time that the government have actually finished, even if they do finish it, by the time they have finished building this thing, whatever it is going to be in the end, who will actually use it? Because by that point, the technology that is going in now, in the next year, the first out of the 6 years, it will already be massively out of date in 6 years' time.
Yes, that is true. Yes.
You can go and listen to Keir Starmer's speech if you want to, but I would highly recommend doing something more fun and more productive, like watching some paint dry or maybe pricking yourself for an hour with a needle. The entire speech sounded like he asked ChatGPT to write it and then just read it out loud. A load of words interspersed with buzzwords that makes no sense whatsoever.
That's the thing. They want to sound cool.
The UK economy is actively tanking.
Instead of
urgent action is needed. And this is what the UK government came up with after a week of thinking. I mean, come on! Hire somebody with more than one functioning brain cell. The government also announced AI growth zones around the UK, where companies will be able to get faster planning permission to build AI data centers. I am sure Google and Amazon are now queuing up so that they can get slightly faster planning applications to have the ability to pay the highest energy prices in the world to run their brand new AI clusters in the UK.
That's another
I am
thing.
old enough to remember how David Cameron in 2014 announced the second digital revolution, which was going to power the Internet of Things, biggest thing ever. Then there was the industry-led review to supercharge UK artificial intelligence in 2017. Incidentally, that review said it would unlock £630 billion for the UK economy. That's 1,000 times more than Rachel Reeves' China deal, and we're still waiting for that £630 billion to be unlocked, of course. Then there was Boris Johnson spending £250 million for artificial intelligence for the NHS. Rishi Sunak organised an artificial intelligence summit in 2023, but sure, this time is definitely completely different. This time, AI will solve all of our problems. It will make us super prosperous. The country is going to print money like nobody has ever seen before. This speech by Keir Starmer is a bit like having a house that is completely falling apart. Your TV just fell off the wall and smashed all over the floor. The heating system broke down last week and you're freezing your ass off. The washing machine blew up and the sewer is backing up towards the kitchen sink. And you step out of your front door that is hanging precariously on just one hinge and you announce that you will be buying one of them fancy fridges that automatically orders milk when it thinks that you've run out. Yay! This is exactly what this AI announcement sounds like. In the Q&A session, somebody asked Keir Starmer if he has confidence in Rachel Reeves, and he said he has full confidence in the Chancellor, and that everything she is doing is absolutely right, and then the policy of the government is bang on, because the UK government can never possibly admit to making a mistake. It is so incredulous the way the politicians think. I just don't get it. Even if it is extremely obvious to everybody that they fucked up, no, they will just keep pretending that everything's fine. It's much better to gaslight everybody and continue going down the wrong path, even though you and everybody else knows it is the wrong path. That's the choice that they're making. Apparently, Rachel Reeves is also planning to give a speech on growth, but this speech has now been delayed because she has had to travel to China, and it will be delayed until after her trip to Davos, because of course the UK Chancellor cannot possibly waste time writing and thinking about how to fix the mess that she created before she's had her chance to sip some champagne and caviar at a party with the world's richest people. On Thursday, Rachel Reeves has called in 8 different industry regulators to ask them what they are doing to boost growth. And I'm really sorry to point this out, Rachel. I know that you're not aware of how regulators work, but it's not in the remit of regulators to boost growth. They're pretty much there to make sure that companies don't screw their customers, adhere to the law, make sure that they're doing everything by the book. You know who is responsible for making the economy grow? The Chancellor. The Chancellor is responsible. The problem with Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves at the moment is that instead of doing things, instead of passing laws, pushing for urgent changes, updating stuff, instead of rethinking things, they are too busy doing nothing and occasionally lecturing, using a whole load of buzzwords to try to come up with something that sounds like it makes some kind of sense. I think for the first time in her career, Rachel Reeves is finding out that just turning up is actually not enough, and you actually have to do something in your job. I was going to count how many times Keir Starmer used the word AI in his speech today, but I gave up after counting to 987 inside the first minute. The UK economy is not going to grow just because Keir Starmer gave a speech about how AI found the location of a blood clot in a patient sometime. The UK economy is not going to grow through increasing taxes and punishing business startups. Not a single serious big tech company is going to base their operations in the UK in the current environment. In fact, many companies are doing the exact opposite. Many of them are moving out. They will all pretend by opening offices in the UK, in London, because it's good for getting investment. It's good for your brand image. But they will continue to actually operate out of California, out of Texas, out of Colorado, out of anywhere else, but not in the UK. Those people are not coming to the UK no matter how much Keir Starmer puts a spin on it. Before giving a speech, Keir Starmer actually published a piece in the Financial Times, and he called it "Britain doesn't need to walk a US or EU path on AI." Because of course, why go and try to set up things the way that they are currently working in the US if you want to push this AI thing? It's much, much better for bureaucrats who have never worked a single day in their life in tech, who don't understand anything about how an AI model works. Now, those people should decide how the whole thing should work instead, and it has to be different to the way that it works over there in the US, because we are better. I love the fact that the first line
different? The
of
tech
this
is the
piece
same.
says the writer is UK Prime Minister. Not sure if this is so that when the Prime Minister that is currently Prime Minister is inevitably forced to resign, you don't accidentally forget that he was Prime Minister when you read this article in the future, or if this is because when you read the article and you realize that it reads like a giant pile of rubbish generated by AI, then it is even more fascinating because it wasn't in fact written by a blind raccoon, but it was in fact genuinely written apparently by the UK Prime Minister. In fact, large chunks of the speech that Keir Starmer gave today were word for word recited from this article, so you kind of knew what he was going to say if you read it first. And meanwhile, today, the Bank of England is selling another batch of 750 billion, I think, or whatever it is, of bonds from their balance sheet. And the thing with selling bonds is that the price of bonds inversely correlates with yields. So when yields on bonds go up, prices of bonds go down. That's the basics of how the bond market works. Because when yields go up, nobody wants to buy older bonds that have lower yields. Given that yields are going up in a vertical line now, that means that the prices on bonds are going down in a vertical line. A few people thought that maybe Bank of England would pause on the selling at the moment, given what's happening, because prices are going down in the vertical line. But no, they are continuing to sell, which means that the UK is not only paying way more to borrow money at the moment, but they are also busy selling bonds from the balance sheet and are losing billions and billions of pounds in each sale at the same time. This year, the plan is to sell 100 billion apparently of these bonds as part of the work to reduce inflation. And the problem now is that they are losing a ton of money by doing it. And the net effect of what they're doing is that the UK economy will stagnate instead of growing.
That is insane. That is insane, man. That is insane.
At the moment for the next 2-3 days until the end of Wednesday. Use the code HELLO2025 at the checkout to get 10% off. Link in the description. I'll see you later.
Oh, man. That is insane. That is insane, man. Yeah. There's a new channel. Oh, it's not a new channel. He has another one. Yeah, but this is insane. This recession imminent 7 days ago. Yeah, well, pretty much, yeah. Because if people cannot afford, the rent is insane, the food is insane, everything's insane. And like energy, about the energy as well. You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. We can actually start from the beginning. From the Brittany's horrific blackout. Michael Javier.
The green net zero agenda that, of course,
this as well.
Lots of pretty wealthy, well-off people pat themselves on the back about saving the world, whilst we see the decimation of industry, we see energy prices rocketing, and working class people in particular feeling the very negative impacts of higher energy costs.
As well, who's gonna work in data centers? How many people can data centers actually employ? This is insane. I mean, what the Britain is just gonna, everybody's just gonna work in a data center, doing what? Can you imagine? Just think about it. And how many people are actually qualified to work in a data center? What, dusting them? That is insane, man. That is just, that is insane.
And of course,
UK is Titanic. That's it. Ireland is Titanic.
Of course, at the same time now, we're at a vulnerable position, where our reliance on foreign energy supplies has hit a record high. It really is pretty sad and disturbing when you look in the grand scheme of things how minuscule our CO2 is in the context of the world. And we've seen a pushback against this and a dose of sanity recently from Sweden, warning that weather-dependent energy is a massive, massive gamble. And it certainly isn't an agenda that you should be crippling your industry and shipping your jobs abroad for?
Well, yeah, because it's okay. It only works in specific scenarios. The solar, the wind. Yeah, and if it would be so beneficial, the companies would be building them solar and wind everywhere. It would be covered. It's simply not possible to do. But it may be, it can share the grid with the current fossil fuel and nuclear energy, but it cannot replace it. It simply cannot. Plus, building a data center highly energy demanding. How can you do this? There is no chance of doing that.
We're now finally seeing the truth emerging that net zero is driving up energy prices, and things this week really did get pretty sinister because the UK neared, or got somewhere near at least, actual blackouts. The tightest day in the electricity market for our country since 2011. And as people are pointing out now, the dire state of our electricity system is down to the increasing proportion of intermittent wind and solar on the grid at the same time as shutting down and blowing up reliable power stations. And Centrica there recently laid it out. Plunging temperatures and high demand for gas-fired power have reduced the UK winter gas storage to concerningly low levels. Their UK storage sites 26% lower than at the same time last year. Catherine Porter doing some great work laying out the reality, not the fluffy words from people, as I said, who love to pat themselves on the back, but the reality, the dangerous reality of the situation we now find ourselves in, saying that yesterday the GB power market came fairly close to demand control or a blackout, the tightest day since 2011. You saw there the first electricity market notice of the winter, and that even a relatively modest generating unit tripping at the peak would have triggered a shortfall and potential blackout. And then you would have had to look at what's being called pretty sinister as demand control, and to avoid a country-wide blackout.
Can you imagine that in building a data center in this kind of environment? Prices of energy are sky high and it is not 100% stable. You can literally go dark. That's it. Can you imagine that running a business? Nobody's gonna work like this. Nobody. You wouldn't. I wouldn't. If you're a big business, you wouldn't be able to. How are you gonna work? The money loss, everything. But that is insane. That's not possible.
So look, everyone cares about the environment, but what we are doing in terms of decimating industry, driving up costs, making energy more expensive for business and particularly for working class people, and putting ourselves in a very vulnerable position in terms of gas storage levels. It is all absolute madness. And that is why you're seeing now at the moment, by the way, despite the sort of mainstream media narrative, election after election after election, you're seeing Green parties not making massive gains with an upswell of public support, but they're being decimated across the board as people see the reality of what this agenda all means. As ever, guys, I will, of course, keep bringing you all the latest on this and much more. So please do whack this video a quick thumbs up. And, of course, as ever, cheers for watching.
Yeah. This guy is, well, yeah, he has a good point.
It is all
He has a good point. So basically, trajectory is British government embarking right now is suicide, literally. It's like seeing an iceberg and let's go towards it. Yeah, we're sailing right into it. That's it. That is insane. The prices of everything are sky high. But if you keep raising the wages, inflation is going to keep spiraling out of control. You need cheap produce entering the market to dampen down the prices, and so you can get people without increasing the wages to have more money. This would be helpful. Yes, this would be helpful for everybody. So that's not gonna happen if you're gonna be keep antagonizing China, all the producer countries, because the producer countries are the ones who produce stuff for you, and if you're gonna fight them, you're not gonna have the products anymore, or limited products, and this is gonna drive prices as is even more up. This is disaster. This is it. I don't know. There is nothing good to say about the UK economy in a near future or distant future. That this is a train wreck, and they do nothing. Well, buckle up for safety, I suppose. Well, have a lovely one, and we'll do more of this, and see you soon.